This is the controller, is it?
I believe so.
Hi, my name's Lee Johns. Met some of you last night from our StorageWorks division. And just like last night at the football game, everything's going to happen that's exciting in the last few minutes here. It's going to happen fast. And I do apologize to those people who had to squeeze into my Mini last night to get home. I know that's normally just one of me in it, not four. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about StorageWorks and our strategy, but I'm really going to talk about how we're leveraging the industry standard platforms and components that you've been hearing about and solutions to really revamp the whole of HP's storage portfolio. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how we're leveraging this sort of IP investment that we have in industry standard servers for storage here. So you know, the world has changed pretty rapidly, and one of the things that's changed is how we need to think about storage for a number of reasons. So first, explosive growth. You all see in it, storage is growing at about 100% every 18 months in terms of total storage, and it's changing. It's changing from from structured data to unstructured data in large degree. So you know, we're seeing much more data generated, of course, by all the social media sites. We're generating on our mobile phones, 3D, video, everything that's happening is driving more. Virtualization on the server side is changing storage. I mean, virtualization is just there all the time. And we have to make sure we're really a great platform for virtual servers. Compliance and regulations are meaning people are storing data for longer. Even academic institutions are having to store data for sometimes over 100 years, medical institutions for the life of the patient, etc., etc. So massive sets of data being kept for longer. There's been some real technology shifts. The converged networks moving more towards Ethernet, solid state from a media standpoint, but also just the power and performance of industry standard platforms. You've heard about all the cores we have in those platforms today. And that means that if you look at most of the storage that comes out today, most of the new storage architectures are all built around using x86 processors. And they're starting to leverage clustered architectures, and we'll show you that here. Cloud computing, you see that with sort of matrix here. People want a service-orientated architecture. They want to be able to have a hybrid cloud where they can build internal and external services and join those together, and then power and cooling costs are going up all the time, so people have to be aware of that. And all of these factors are really changing how we have to think about storage. And storage is still really underutilized. If you talk to people about storage and ask them how much the utilization is on a storage platform, they'll tend to tell you that their storage is probably 60 or 70% utilized. But what they don't tell you at that point, or don't even know, is that most of that data is not unique, or just the core data that they're using. There's a lot of zeros that get stored on the system. There's a lot of duplicate data, and in reality, you're more at about a 25% utilization rate. Legacy storage was designed about 20 years ago. Most storage systems that are out there today that are the popular storage systems are 20-year-old designs, and they really don't scale very well to these new data sets and new growth curves that we're seeing in terms of storage. They're not very cost effective to scale in that way. And that results in the fact that the explosive growth causes inefficiency as you buy more systems, right? And as you buy more systems, you manage sprawl. So every other system you buy, it's not just a case of buying a new system, it's managing multiple systems. And then storage has never really been designed for specific applications. It's designed typically to be a centralized pool. It doesn't understand the application well. So what we're hearing is that it's too complicated, it's hard to scale, etc. And we're really driving towards a more simple, scalable, smart, and self-optimized set of storage, and doing that based off of these technologies that you've seen in industry standard platforms. Now, we've gone through a wholesale portfolio refresh of the things that people probably think of as being the core of the HP storage portfolio, which are our P2000 modular smart arrays. We've got now 6 gig SAS, 10 gig Ethernet, 8 gig fiber channel throughout those platforms. They were all refreshed last year. The HP P9000, which is previously known as our XP platforms at the very high end, bulletproof storage. We just refreshed that in September of last year. Completely new platform, new SAS drives in there, sort of exactly the same drives that you see in the industry standard server platform, small form factor. And then EVA has been the platform that we've been using from a storage standpoint for Matrix. And also, you will see a new EVA in 2011. So we're refreshing that portfolio. But what we're really focused in is scalable storage for the next generation of applications, really focused in areas where there's still very hyper growth occurring. And let's take a look at a few of those. So our P4000 SANs came from our Left Hand Networks acquisition. Now that was just over 2 years ago now. This is in the iSCSI market. iSCSI is about 18% of storage in 2009, but it's grown to 25% in 2012. So it's a very high growth area in terms of people moving from, well, no, they're not really moving from fiber channel to iSCSI, but as new applications come in, especially into mid-market customers, fiber channel is too expensive for them. They want to be able to leverage their existing skills and network, and they buy iSCSI-based platforms. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. You'll have bound to have seen the very public bidding war that we went through for 3PAR, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But 3PAR today is really positioned in this area of cloud-based storage and utility storage. Very large market, $6.6 billion for storage by 2013. Now, our X9000 is scalable NAS. This was from an acquisition also of a company called Ibrix. And this is a scale-out clustered solution for very, very large-scale unstructured file-based data. And again, this is a very hot area in the industry. You recently saw EMC buy Isilon in the same kind of space. And then in the deduplication side, there's a very robust market now for deduplication as people see their data explode. They want to lower that data set. They want to be able to do low bandwidth replication from remote sites. That's about a $2 billion business, growing very fast. And HP, back in June, out of HP Labs, introduced something called HP Store Once deduplication on our D2D backup platforms. So these are hypergrowth areas. Every single one of these platforms is, at its core, an x86 server. Now, in the case of a P4000 and an X9000 and the Store Once products, it's essentially a ProLiant server that drives these platforms. In the case of 3PAR, of course, we just acquired them. They weren't using ProLiant, but the technology and the underlying capabilities are essentially servers built into clusters to be able to drive storage. And if you think about the transition we had from minis and mainframes and into industry standard platforms, and now some of the most reliable, large-scale, high-performance applications in the world are built on clusters of industry standard servers. That's exactly what's happening here to storage. Storage is leveraging that same technology now to build scalable products that enable you to buy in small, grow over time, eliminate some of the refresh cycles and costs of maintaining those systems. And of course, by leveraging those same technologies, we can leverage the same management tools and capabilities that we have on the server side. So these products, with the P4000 here, for instance, it supports Insight Manager. You can use ILO in these products when they're located at remote sites, etc. So really it's a wholesale sort of push to really leverage that incredible IP that we have in our server-based business to deliver the next generation of storage. Now, these products are in hypergrowth areas. You can see some of the customers that we were talking about who are buying these. We've got about 100%, well, over 100% growth in 2010 in each of the products that we had last year. Of course, 3PAR we didn't acquire until very end of our financial year last year. But over 100% growth in P4000, X9000, and in the D2D platforms. So what you're seeing here is really cross-leverage, and it really is showing off the converged infrastructure and what we're going to do with it. In November of last year, we introduced this product here called the P4800. It's actually our P4000 SAN, the left-hand technology, built right into a blade system. So now your SAN is actually located within the blade system environment. It's leveraging the same power and cooling infrastructure. It's leveraging the OA in terms of being able to manage that entire environment. Still, of course, you can do all the storage management that you want to do on the platform, but it's really, you know, leveraging that strong investment that we have there. So we're not just running on top of ProLiant here, we're able to run on top of, you know, the blade system innovation as well, leveraging, of course, things like Virtual Connect Flex 10 in there. It's an iSCSI based environment. We're definitely leveraging ProLiant, modular building blocks. These are the components that we're delivering these scale-out SANs from. To give you a sort of idea, though, of some of the scale of these environments, can't tell you who, but I mean, we just sold a solution for was 120,000 users for Exchange with P4000. It's a $1.5 million, you know, sale in one solution. Now that's a lot of nodes to build out that solution, but they're very sort of powerful solutions being built from these modular building blocks. And then of course there's Blade System Matrix and CloudStar integration. Today EVA is part of our delivery of Matrix as a sort of default delivery, but going forwards you'll definitely see us introducing integration of 3PAR with Matrix, so that you have a very sort of robust utility-based storage solution on the back end of the Matrix platform as well. And we've developed something called a Storage Provisioning Manager, which allows us to populate that catalog that you saw much more proactively with our storage, so that you can really get that end-to-end provisioning with Matrix. So I just want to talk a little bit about each of these and give you a sense of, you know, the power of what we're developing, because we've really leapfrogged, you know, a lot of the industry with some of the capabilities here, and you're going to see us over 2011 really revamp how we talk about the HP storage portfolio. So, you know, the P4000, it is built essentially on a ProLiant platform. You can buy one node. You never would, because in storage you want to make sure you've got a highly resilient environment. This is a clustered storage environment. So what you do is you've got you know, your ProLiant there. It's got capacity disk, it's got performance, it's got memory in there, it's got redundancy with the RAID inside of the ProLiant, just, you know, a RAID 6 on the platform itself. But you know, you're going to build out a cluster, so you have two, and then when you have two, you can start to make sure that, you know, you've got redundancy, right? One fails, the other one's got a copy of data. As your environment grows, you just simply scale by adding yet another node, and it automatically restripes the data across those nodes. And when it does that, every single time you're adding a node, you're adding more capacity, you're adding more performance, you're adding more bandwidth. If you notice the lines out to the network, you've got more lines out to the network each time. So you're actually scaling everything as you scale this solution. So you can buy in very small, grow over time. You don't have to predict, you know, I'm going to need X amount of storage in 3 years' time, therefore I'm going to buy this high-end expensive controller, and then I didn't get my prediction right, I now have to buy another one, now I've got to manage two. Here you just add nodes and keep adding nodes as you grow. And this is why this has been so successful in sort of mid-market customers, where they really sort of started out saying, I don't have a heavy investment in fiber channel, I'm going to use iSCSI here because that's more cost effective. I understand Ethernet. This is a much more cost effective way for me to manage my environment. You can have SAS and SATA. You can move data between SAS and SATA. There's a centralized management console. That centralized management console can manage multiple clusters. Each cluster, by the way, we recommend 16 nodes as a maximum. That's not a hard limit, but that's our recommendation for each cluster. But you can have multiple clusters and treat them like one single storage environment. We have an NFS and CIFS capability that you can add. And we also have our store once D2D. So in a medium sort of environment here, you've got a very, very scalable and very flexible platform that you can build, all essentially using Proliant technology underlying it, all with things like ILO in those platforms so you can manage these things remotely, all compatible with Insight Manager in terms of fault management, so you have a very consistent environment. And on this platform, we basically provide all the software you need. You never have to license software. It comes with all the latest and greatest software. I mean, from a virtualization standpoint, the VAI capabilities that VMware has recently introduced, fully supported on the platform. You get very efficient offload of a lot of the tasks in creating VMs and things like that with the platform. 3 things to sort of remember about it. It's an all-inclusive software model. There's no nickel and diming on software. There's no 400 software SKUs that you need for a NetApp. Buy it. Got all the software you need on it. You have a maintenance contract. You get the latest version of the software when it comes out. If you buy a new platform that's got the new software on it, you can just upgrade as you move forward on the platform with that new software. So very easy and efficient for those medium business customers. Because it runs on a standard platform like a Proliant, we can actually run it in a virtual machine, totally unique. So we can, at a remote site, have 2 servers running virtual machines. They could be running Hyper-V or VMware. We can plug this solution as just a piece of software, which you can just download off of our website and run on those servers and create an HA SAN for your VMware environment without any hardware. And that HA SAN has all the same features as the main SAN, and it can replicate back to that main SAN. So a lot of people use this. In fact, a lot of retail customers use this to have it at remote sites, then they replicate back to their head office and they back up everything on the main SAN of the head office using that technology. And then a multi-site DR capability. This is really one of the most powerful features of the platform. Because it's clustered and you have many nodes, you can actually split nodes across multiple sites. I could have a node here, and I could have a node 15 kilometers away in another data center. And when I do that, I'm actually running one single SAN, but I've got failover across those sites. It's a completely contained, fault-tolerant solution across those multiple sites. No additional software required. You buy one SAN, you just split it amongst the sites to create the HA. Very powerful. All based on the Proliant technology, so those ones at the remote site, you can get in and manage using ILO. X9000, which is our scalable NAS. Essentially exactly the same here, built upon Proliant-based platforms. It's a clustered architecture. You can scale it out. We actually deliver it in a number of different configurations. We deliver it for extreme density, running on top of our Blade systems with a product called the MDS600. It's got 70 drives in 5U rack space. That can be 140 terabytes in 5U. And you can scale multiple of those behind this system. So you can have that extreme density. You can add more of those systems, all within one single namespace. And why is this important? Well, that namespace can be up to 16 petabytes. So now I don't have to think about, if I'm managing file-based systems for large-scale workloads, I need to manage 50 filers and worry about all the licensing and everything else I manage across that. I've got one single environment, all again built from that underlying Proliant and HP server IP and scaling out. Now I can deliver capacity optimized, performance optimized platforms. I have a gateway that can sit in front of existing fiber channel systems to integrate the file and the block environment. You can then back that system up out to existing libraries, and going forwards we will absolutely bring the 3PAR technology into this environment as well, so that you have an environment where you've got scalable NAS in front of our utility-based 3PAR systems. And as I said, this can scale up to 16 petabytes, so it's a huge environment you can build with this. We have people who have thousands of nodes of this technology driving their applications. Comes with all that software up there, that scale out software. It does have auto tiering, so I can move data between these tiers seamlessly. It also automatically load balances them, so if I put it in different platforms, it will load balance the data across them for performance automatically. And again, all that software comes with it. You never have to worry about buying all these additional licenses and software. So it's all-inclusive software, including tiering, policy-based, and it can tier between solid state and SAS and SATA. The 16 petabyte namespace, of course, enables you to run huge amounts of different file-based content and applications on those systems. To give you a sense of sort of the size of some of the environments that we're seeing now, Avatar in post-production was 14 petabytes of data for a single movie. And of course, the technology is getting more and more sophisticated in terms of how much data they're going to need in order to build those things out. And where we see most of the use for this today is in some of these vertical environments where they do have these really large-scale file workloads. Media and entertainment, oil and gas, telco. Those are hotbeds for these very, very large-scale data environments. This is not a mainstream NAS platform today for the mid-range, but the technology itself can be taken there. Third platform that we mentioned was the store once deduplication. One of the problems with deduplication is if you do deduplication on different systems and try and move data around, it's incompatible. It doesn't know how it was deduped. So today we provide small systems starting at a couple of terabytes that you can put at remote sites. And so if you have data and you're deduping it on that remote site, you can then transport it, put it onto a larger system at another site. It's all well and good. A number of people provide small and large disk-based backup systems with deduplication. Now this is HP Labs software that we turned into this product and came out with this in June of last year. We're also going to take this capability and build it into 3 other areas. Number one is we're going to put it into virtual machines on servers, so that you can have a very small deduplication space allocated on a remote server and be able to use that rather than have to buy into an appliance at some of those remote sites, where if you get 20-to-1 deduplication, you probably only need 100 meg of space for what you're backing up and then want to transport over low bandwidth. We're going to put it with our data protector software, so you have a tape backup based solution to be able to go drive it, and we're going to build a scale out enterprise solution. And again, this is leveraging the technology that I've talked about, leveraging ProLiant, leveraging the scale out file-based capabilities that we've been talking about here with our X9000. So we have all the tools here to be able to go deliver this and put it in places where others can't. Because the problem today is that with most other organizations, they've got multiple types of deduplication they're going to use at each of these levels. We're going to create one way so you have a single workflow where you never have to rehydrate the data when you're trying to move it between these different locations. You can just simply move it in its deduped form, which is much better for the bandwidth on your network, of course, much better from a time perspective, because you don't have to sort of keep inflating and deduping this data. Things to remember here, HP Labs technology. There's a lot of really deep technology gone into the deduplication algorithms on here. There are some times when we just don't dedupe data, for instance. And you might say, well, why wouldn't you dedupe everything if it's a dedupe engine? And partly it's that, in some cases, if things are very small, and they're going to end up on very disparate areas of the disk, the pointers and everything to build them back can actually take a lot more time to sort of pull them back than if you just stored this small amount of data twice. So we do very intelligent things to decide when to store deduplicated data, when to compress data, and when to make sure we deduplicate. Price performance wise, up to 50% better than the leading competition. We're much more cost effective than the EMC data domain technologies. We've got demonstrable performance improvements over them. And from a replication standpoint, which is what a lot of people want to do, our licensing is again very simple. And that means low cost and easy to use for customers. So they can actually put these remote site solutions out there and very cost effectively bring them in. 3PAR, of course, there's a big bidding war. Why is 3PAR so important to HP? Well, we really see it as something that can accelerate our converged infrastructure strategy. We've been on a mission for about 3 years now to go through this revamping of our architectures. We saw the opportunity for us to leverage the future things we were doing in servers to create the next generation of storage. We needed the software, essentially, to be able to go drive that. Now, with 3PAR, what we get is really an architecture that's fairly new relative to most of the architectures on the market, very feature rich, and we believe we can really transform the enterprise storage market with this. They were very focused on the service provider space and had a great position in that space. We're going to capitalize on that, but we're also going to take it to the enterprise and really enable these next generation of cloud storage solutions, both for private and for public cloud. Now, when you're looking at service-orientated architectures and being able to build these types of solutions, what tends to happen is customers have multiple different constituencies that they're actually delivering the storage for. They've got multiple different applications. Maybe they've got email, online transaction processing, data warehousing, all these things sort of trying to be accessed on one single platform. And so they need to be able to provision storage very rapidly. They've got to be able to handle diverse workloads. And they have to be able to support the service levels for those workloads along with the security domains around them. And that's why this solution has been so popular in service providers, because it does that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And the way it does it is it also does it with a very high resource utilization and low operational overhead. The high resource utilization is really driven by technologies like thin provisioning, but there's a lot of different ways that people do thin provisioning, and the way this is done is reservationless, and you can actually do sort of liposuction on data. You can pull zeros out of a system to actually create a fat volume into a thin volume on this platform. You can actually have applications reclaim space on their systems using this as well. So it's a much more efficient and effective thin provisioning engine than we see on other platforms. In fact, 3PAR invented thin provisioning. They were the first storage organization to come up with that concept and deliver that. And then from an operational overhead perspective, autonomic management, where they're really doing things to make sure that you don't have to worry about manual operations within the system. It will make intelligent choices to optimize things either through load balancing or also tiering. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So HP is very strong in service providers, Web 2.0 companies, in HPC. The blade system technologies that you've all seen today, absolutely great technologies for those types of customers. Also the Pliant SL series platforms. So we had #1 shares in these areas, and what would happen is we'd go into these organizations, but we weren't winning the storage. And what was the storage that we saw in these organizations? It was 3PAR. 7 out of the top 10 hosting providers use 3PAR. People like eHarmony, Priceline in the Web 2.0 space. These were all using 3PAR. They were virtualized environments with HP, C-class blades, and 3PAR. And so it was a great fit for us. Now, what's happening, of course, is that as we move sort of forward, internal IT organizations, because of a variety of reasons, want to make sure they maintain their own systems in a lot of cases. Some of them will never go to an external cloud for a lot of their services, either for compliance or regulatory issues or just concerns on security. But what's happening is they want exactly that same kind of capability that 3PAR was winning for in these service providers. They also want that utility-based storage, and so from an enterprise perspective, we see this as a huge opportunity to go drive these solutions into the enterprise. And I can tell you that we're seeing a huge interest in the 3PAR platforms and a huge push from a sales perspective since we brought them online. And it was only December the 1st, actually, that they became a full part of HP, so very recently. It's only just over a month. But that's a 6.6 billion storage market, and we think we have the best technology in the market here to go and address that, and we're going to leverage that and integrate it with the blade system matrix technologies that you heard about. Things to remember about the 3PAR solution: efficiency. Both from a CapEx and OpEx perspective, it's a clustered architecture, so again, you can buy small and grow. It's incredibly efficient with its thin provisioning technologies, so you're buying less storage and managing less storage than you have to with other technologies. Multi-tenant, it handles those multiple workloads and multiple customers really well. And as I said, 7 out of the 10 top hosting providers are already using that 3PAR technology. And then autonomic. Again, here it has the ability to move data between hot tiers and cold tiers in the system. It will do that based on how it sees the data performing. About 5% of the data in any storage system tends to be hot. The rest is sitting there at rest on the system. And the data, though, that's hot and the data that's at rest changes over time. And what happens here is that we migrate the data between the solid state, the fiber channel tiers, and the SATA tiers in the system automatically for customers. So very efficient, and it's exactly the type of technology that our enterprise customers are looking for. So we think it's the best new technology in the market. It's certainly an architecture that's much newer and therefore easier for us to upgrade and adapt than most of the popular architectures that are out there, which were built 20 years ago, and data and the whole industry has changed dramatically since then. From a cloud-based perspective, we have scalable technologies here across all these platforms, and going forwards we'll have scalable deduplication platforms. We've got the P4000. We have companies in the US like BlueLock, who are a hosting provider, who are using that for mail and messaging, hosting, and other applications. The 3PAR solution, of course, very strong in those areas, and also now moving into the enterprise as we take it there. And then the X9000, that scalable NAS, file serving, which will integrate with these other platforms to ensure that we have a very common, strong technology, all built on this underlying ProLiant and industry standard technology. So just to sort of wrap here, showed this before, but we're leveraging blades, we're building new technology and new solutions for customers based on those, common management, really integrating, converging servers, storage, and networking. The ProLiant is really an underlying building block for us for a lot of these solutions, and then the blade system matrix and CloudStart gives us the ability to integrate this new storage into those service-orientated paradigms. And if I can find a way to get a triple in there, I'll do that as well. So, we are, from a storage perspective, really leveraging the assets of HP. There's a lot of networking capability coming in here as well. There are some things that you will see shortly from us that demonstrate this even more. Can't talk about them. We're not, under NDA here, but there are going to be some very interesting, developments in the not too distant future that you're going to see as we look to really, bring these platforms together. Our new storage portfolio, as we drive forwards, is very much going to be based on modular, scalable platforms, and we really have industry-leading platforms in each of these spaces. If you go look at the customer requirements now versus what they were 5 years ago, they've changed a lot, and we've really gone and sort of leapfrogged and aimed at those future requirements as we built out a new portfolio. And you're going to see us in 2011 here really go on the offensive in storage. It's a absolutely core part of our converged infrastructure strategy, and frankly, we haven't been performing how we should over the last few years, but we really have the portfolio now to go and attack. So you're going to see us really push this hard in 2011, and of course it's all leveraging the investment and everything that we're doing in the industry standard server-based platforms. So I'm going to stop there and see if there's any questions.
Well, just one quick comment for any of you guys that want to know more about the store ones. We're actually doing a online session with the folks from HP Labs. Actually, the lead. I don't think we call him an engineer. They're sending for somebody that works in the labs. I think he's a chief. I don't know if he's a chief scientist or what. But anyway, we're doing an online virtual session for bloggers where we'll talk to the HP Labs guys who help develop store ones. So let me know if you're interested in that.
Okay. Okay, I'll be around for a few minutes if you have any questions.
Thanks.